If you've ever seen an episode of SAO, you know how much it hurts to want one of these.
Hello and welcome to Otaku Notaku, where we examine, critique, and debunk prejudice against Prime Media, both American and Japanese. Today we will be looking at the popular title Sword Art Online, or SAO. Sword Art Online is an action-adventure following protagonist Kirigaya Kazuto.
What? I thought his name was Kirito.
Well, yes, and no. His name is Kirito in the game.
So he is Kirito.
For most of the series, yes. Anyway, SAO is set in a Japan of the near future, wherein a new level of immersion in gaming has just been reached. A virtual reality, fully immersive experience made possible by the Nerve Gear, a gaming peripheral that simulates all 5 senses.
Also known as the future of gaming? Come on, who doesn't want one of these?
Think about the price tag though.
I know what I'm getting for Christmas this year.
Kirigaya Kazuto, or as he's known for the rest of the anime, Kirito, among 10,000 other Japanese players, picks up Sword Art Online, the latest and greatest in gaming technology. Upon getting into the game, players soon discover that there is no way to log out of the game. They're trapped.
To top it all off, players soon learn that a single death in the game means game over. If you die in the game, you die in real life.
Players must traverse 100 floors, each with a deadly boss at the end, to escape their virtual prison. Players are prevented from leaving by a sort of death trap inside the Nerve Gear. Further, if people on the outside attempt to remove the Nerve Gear, the death trap is triggered, causing the one hooked up to it to die.
As for characters, Kirito
Kazuto
is the focal point of the anime.
Sadly.
You don't like him, do you?
No, his character is presented in the same way as your average fanfiction Mary Sue. His presence mysteriously causes other, usually amazing hero types to lose all of their competence and cry for help.
When you put it that way, yeah. He does suffer from a reliance on other characters to validate his actions.
There's always someone around, seemingly only for the purpose of being in awe when he uses a skill or does anything, really. Well, I wouldn't call him a bad character. The way he combines the strong anti-hero trope with the weak protagonist is done in an ungraceful manner, causing him to act like 2 or 3 different people at once.
You could argue he wanted to be a loner but ended up changing when he became friends with that guild after a while, so he became sad when he let them all die and blames himself, but even I will admit that could have used a lot more polishing.
Or personality.
That said, we shall move on. Asuna,
the real main character,
is a strong-willed, though an inexperienced young girl, just now dipping her toes in the world of MMOs, who plays the part of the main love interest.
Which, of course, detracts from her character, as she's contractually obligated to invest her skill points into fawning, cooking, and, of course, mothering.
However, despite her sudden reliance on Kirito after their union, her combat prowess is actually on par with Kirito's own.
Though, don't expect them to give up prime damsel in distress material.
I don't think anything could have changed that.
Actually, all they'd have to do is...
Next up is Larry Klein. A character you'll only see on occasion, but is a fun character nonetheless.
He makes a nice comic relief and adds a much needed sense of realism to the lineup.
Klein plays the part of the bro. His manliness joined through the ether with Kirito's own to form an unbreakable bond to last through the chains of—
Klein is notable for his copious amounts of trying, putting in weeks of effort to be where Kirito seems to be naturally.
He struggles to keep up with Kirito, though, through his efforts, outshines his peers.
I personally felt like he was the most human of the group, slipping up under times of stress and visibly freaking out when there was something to be afraid of. He is, to be honest, what I wish Kirito was.
As for visuals, SAO has a well-done animation style.
For its time.
Using consistently bright color palette for environments and a darker palette for tense atmospheres such as dungeons, causing certain brighter colors to pop. Backgrounds give a sense of viewpoint and location with a decent use of depth, although avoid being overly detailed in order to maintain focus on the events in the foreground.
Which is good. Otherwise, we may have needed to call it Sword Art Gallery. Sound is about 70% of any presentation. It's the bang of a shotgun, the sad behind the tears. Everything that you must convey, though cannot draw, is done with sound. Sound is ultimately what can make or break any sort of visual media. Have you ever watched a horror movie but turned the sound off? It becomes almost comical, let alone scary. Music and sounds are often used to convey emotional impact, like the screeching violin during a jump scare, the punch of an impact, the ambience of a dark hallway. Everything about the tone you need to set is done with sound.
SAO, while not having an overly large variety of soundtracks, uses what it has to achieve the tone it desires.
However, the tone it desires isn't always the one that a scene needs. It has a bad habit of building up to a moment with tense music and following it up with little to no payoff, instead being slapped in the face by someone else choosing to fawn over Kirito.
Voices are done well in both the dub and sub.
Though, this is one of those anime that uses English as a generalizing tool, which you can't exactly carry over to an English dub.
He's a beater!
Overall, besides that, you could go either way in the sub versus dub department. We give an advantage to the sub, which is very slight though tangible. Ultimately, it all comes down to preference with this one. Nothing wrong with either.
SAO received a lot of hype when it came out. Fans all over the world cheered, "You've gotta watch this anime, 10 out of 10! Though, ultimately it doesn't live up to the standards that the hype set, and that may be what ruined this anime for me.
Though it does a lot right, in none of the technical departments does it fall short.
Technical, here excluding story.
Sound and voice syncing are solid. Animation is also decently solid, and the pairing is done okay.
Though, the story was riddled with plot holes and situations that seemed to contradict what the story had spent time establishing. A prime example of this being Kirito's battle healing, topped off with, well, a lot of wasted potential.
However, despite that, it's still a charming watch, and worth your time if it's your cup of smooth jasmine tea. Now we will be calculating a rating based on presentation, stories, and our personal enjoyment.
So my rating of 6,
And my rating of 7.5,
combine and clash swords to form a rating together of
6.75 out of 10. While it does not live up to the hype, it certainly does not deserve all the hate it gets either, and is worth at least one watch, be it for your enjoyment or simply for the sake of ridicule. We recommend streaming this rather than buy, though we would not discourage buying it should you have the spare cash to compensate for the lack of a better term, Aniplex's choice of pricing.
Hold it!
Looking for stuff to watch? Look no further!
Today we recommend Axel World, an anime similar in theme to SAO.
And The Last Starfighter, an older movie. It shares the same premise of getting sucked into a video game, though it's a bit more to the effect of a Star Fox 64/Star Wars Rogue Squadron game. Either of these should be to your liking.
Like what you saw? Wallet leaking excess money? Support our Patreon or visit our Spreadshirt page at the links below.
And if you enjoyed the show, why not leave a like or subscribe? We upload once every few weeks, and we love to let you know when a new episode comes out. Disagree with our opinions? Voice your own in the comments below.
Thanks for sticking around, and we hope to see you in the next Otaku Notaku. My smooth jasmine chi, I must channel it.